Welcome to yet another exciting episode of Matter Africa, and I'm Zoira Hamza. Everywhere in our society you hear sexual harassment. Like, what is our society turning into? And the recent one, sex for grade. Like, what is all this? And discussing this topic today with me is Dr. Khadijat Adeshino Utman, Associate Professor of Economics, Dean Faculty of Social Science, HOD Department of Economics. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Like, ma'am, what do you understand by sexual harassment?
Okay, sexual harassment is when there is an involuntary action from a male to a female or from a female to a male.
Okay.
Making a kind of advances that are sexy in nature. And usually it is called harassment because it is not a mutual consenting.
Okay.
No mutual consent from a party in particular. That means one party is trying to use the force or his influence or his power or whatever edge he has over the other party to actually get something that we call sex, which should be mutual actually.
Okay, now you're also a lecturer, you are a dean. What is the university doing to put an end to the whole issue of sexual harassment and the new one that is just the new recent development they call sex for grade? What are the efforts being made to put an end to such?
Sexual harassment has been a long-standing issue in the Nigerian universities.
Okay.
I remember that earlier this year, I think that should be around March, April, when we celebrated the Women's Day.
Yes.
I was one of the panelists at the United States Embassy here in Abuja as a discussant on the issue of sexual harassment. And we watched a movie, a documentary from the US, which is The Hunting Ground. That movie actually shows that it's not only happening in Nigeria,
Yes.
but actually it's happening all over around the world. And in that movie, what we discovered was that to get justice in a university, even where, that's the Western world,
Yes.
America is so advanced and they have policies on sexual harassment. You have, in the documentary, we saw a lot of universities saying we have zero tolerance to sexual harassment. But despite that, there are a lot of documentation where students actually confess that, yes, they've been sexually molested and harassed severally, and they've not been able to get justice from the university for those who actually harassed them. And remember that at that panel, I was asked what the university is doing about it in Nigeria. And I said, I think the National Assembly just passed a bill on sexual harassment on raping,
Yes.
on raping in Nigeria, that if you rape anybody, you have to get this, is it 10 years or how many years imprisonment? Fine. But when you look at most of the universities in Nigeria, what you see, they can have, yes, just like here, we talk about plagiarism policy, research policy, sexual harassment policy. But when you look deep down into the details of what it contains
Yes.
In the policy, sometimes it's not so detailed, it's not so explicit on how to really help the harassed person, And here in our university, I always say that, I can say that because we are borderless university,
Okay.
we are classless, and our students are not hostel.
Yes.
Yeah, they live outside the university, and they stop it from wherever they are. So that has really reduced a lot of contact we have with the
Yes.
student. Female-male relationship between teachers and students, has been reduced. But notwithstanding, during the 400 level, when they have to go through project supervision, they have to come in contact with their lecturers,
Yeah.
with their supervisors. And then we've been hearing of one or two cases of yes, sexual harassment, but what the university is doing is that if you have that reported to the dean's office or to the HOD's office, we set up a panel to investigate such cases. First, if we cannot substantiate a case, when we hear it from students, we start monitoring the lecturer, call the lecturer attention to what we're hearing from outside, so that he can caution himself or caution herself. Okay, so if we hear such report again, it's a committee set up by the faculty and then investigate. Recently, we did that in my faculty here, but unfortunately, the student that reported the case wasn't able to substantiate it so well with evidence. They're not able to come up. I mean, even to come to and face the panel, like they are kind of afraid. So
what are their fears?
The fear is that I want to graduate, so I don't want anything to delay my graduation. If I come out to say this person is bad, he might gang up with another lecturer to actually punish me. But usually when I have ladies coming around, I always tell them, be fearless. You're talking to a dean that is ready to stand for you, to speak for you. Okay, and this university also has actually minimized contact.
Okay,
we don't encourage our lecturers to contact students by phone, or email is better. Okay, and make sure it is very, very official. Okay, we only contact students when there are other cases of clarification which affects their maybe moving from one level to the other or graduating. So that has actually limited the contact. That, but we don't have this case so much in National University of Nigeria. But I must tell you that in other universities, like the documentary from BBC African High, you can see that it's really, really so rampant in Nigeria, and nobody seems to be talking about it so well. Until universities actually review their policies on sexual harassment and also try to ensure that implementation is very important. And one thing I would recommend is that universities should have gender department or gender unit and gender and diversity unit that will try and take care of issues of sexual harassment and many others, actually as affect the weaker sex.
Okay. Now, in those days, like early past years, we never had issues of sexual harassment. Like, what do you think are some of the reasons that are bringing forth sexual harassment? Most especially, the female are the ones that are always the victims. What are the motives? What is actually bringing for sexual harassment? Because everywhere you go to, even in secondary school, primary school, you hear sexual harassment. Yeah. What do you think are the reason behind this development?
I think we need a kind of reorientation in our community. I won't say because of the dress code, because if you are a Muslim or you're a Christian or you are herbalist, you have the freedom of dress in Nigeria. You can dress the way you like, but don't be naked. That is just it. But even if somebody is naked, the opposite sex should try and caution themselves. There is need for more discipline in the university system. One, I know we have now lazy students among our students. A lot of them are not really ready to study. That is number one. Some of them are actually, looking for grade that they did not deserve. That is number one. And that's, again, it's an issue that if the lecturers are disciplined, well-disciplined, they would not give in to that. And the other side of it is that some lecturers are just there to, yes, I have the power, I'm the lecturer, I can fail you, threaten the life of the opposite sex, and then they will give in into, some of them will give into the harassment, and we keep quiet even when they don't like it. Okay, but some actually will speak out and say, oh, this is not, I have the right to speak out. And I think those are the ones that are really helping how to expose this kind of lecturers in the society. So what we need to do is a lot of reorientation for the lecturers, for the parents, for the students, generally in the society, because the unit where we come out from is from the unit in the society before you come to a larger universal place like university, where you will meet people from different background, different upbringing that would be cohabiting together in a university. And so there's no way you have perfect human being. Yes. Anyway, there are weaker sex among men that cannot withstand seeing a beautiful eyes or something like that. But there is need for reorientation in the community, in the society, starting from the family unit.
Okay,
It's
now,
very important.
now I've heard in recent time where some people came out to say they were born, they are pedophiles, that they are actually born this way. Now, what's your opinion on pedophiles now? They believe that that's how, that they should just go out harassing, raping. What's your opinion on that?
Actually, that's why I said we have to go back to the unit,
Grassroots.
to the grassroots. You know, some houses, in some family, you see these cases of incest in the family, where they have the extended family and you have the grandfather harassing the granddaughter. You know, there's no way the grandson in that family will not take the mentality, that stupid mentality of the grandfather, and that's one we translate into the society.
Okay.
You know, because he's a younger generation, we try to look at, not within. Sometimes they even look within. There are a lot of cases nowadays that are actually embarrassing and amazing when you hear of even brother and sister getting married. You know, I read one in last year, I think in the south or southeast, when they said yes, that's the way God wanted it, and the church eliminated them from the church, and the parents said they don't have anything to do, they can get married. Where are we getting to? What is the tradition? What is the religious tradition? What is the local tradition? Okay, what is the family tradition? These are the long way to help the mentality of our children as we bring them up. Because if a child tells you that, yes, that's where I am, I just feel like harassing anybody anyhow, then something is wrong somewhere. It's not mentally stable. And the mental stability of a child will start from home. How well are they brought up? Where are our parents today? Parents are running after, money, making ends meet. A lot of things the government need to do as well to help the parents. Because in some climes, parents don't need to think about how to pay students' school fees. They don't need to think about from primary school to secondary school, And they don't need to think about how to buy the books. And they don't need to think about even how to get a shelter or pay for house rent. These are welfare packages that the government can put together and make life comfortable for people. But where you have a family of 6 cohabiting together in one room, and the parents are also meeting, what mentality are you putting into the minds of the boys and the girls in the room? And this is very common in Nigeria. When you look at the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics data, you will see houses, type of houses that we have in Nigeria: duplex, bungalow, flats, face me and face you. Flat system, face me and face you. And then again, you see holders.
Yes.
You see others, even others that are staying. You see the bridge, under the bridge, then others. Under the bridge is even better because they can have this urban slum area to sleep. But others means anywhere they can sleep, The government need to address a lot of issues, and then it will actually translate into the upbringing of the children right from home.
Okay. We're going to go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll find out if there are laws that are already being made to protect people against sexual harassment. Do stay with us. Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, this is Matter Africa on Television Nigeria. Today we're discussing sexual harassment, and my guest is Dr. Ganiat Adeshina, Associate Professor of Economics, Dean Faculty of Social Science, HOD Department of Economics. What a big portfolio. You're welcome back, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Before we went on a break, I wanted to find out if there are laws that have been placed against sexual harassment.
Yes, I think I can remember that in 2016, there was the bill passed by the National Assembly in Nigeria here on sexual harassment, and I think some states are now standing it for that to make sure that there is implementation of the bill in each of the states when such cases is reported. And I also know that UNICEF has a policy on sexual harassment and abuse, and also a policy on preventing sexual harassment and abuse. What processes do you go through to prevent it, and when it occurs, how do you report? So there are a lot of things that the public needs to know too, especially the women or the female in the society.
Yes.
We need to know about these bills, read about them, educate the girl's child, educate the female student about it, let them be aware. And then there's something I know they always do in Malaysia. They have a way of teaching them on how to actually prevent sexual harassment,
Okay.
and how you can defend yourself in case somebody wants to force you into sex or harass you privately somewhere. You can actually have some defense strategy.
Okay.
So they take female through such training in the university.
Wow.
Yes,
that's a
so
good
that they
one.
will be able to defend themselves.
Okay, that means there is a bill, but it has not been implemented.
Yeah, I think there is a case from OAU
Okay.
that we know, very popular one, that occurred last year.
Wow.
I think the professor has been suspended, I think sacked by now, and then we'll now face, because I think Osun State have signed into that bill. He will
Okay.
need to face the law against with a charge of sexual harassment. So I think now the bill hasn't passed. Implementation is very key to any bill that is passed in Nigeria. So states and even institutions need to adopt it and ensure that they are well acquainted with the provisions in the bill.
Okay. Now, as a dean of social science, Open University Abuja, these victims, I know you have heard so many stories of victims being molested or sexually harassed. Now, these people that actually inflict this pain on them, do they actually are they being punished?
It's very hard in Nigeria to get that punishment. I will share one or two stories with you
Okay.
that was shared with us at the United States Embassy's program.
Okay.
A lady actually came out to say that he's been harassed. He's in the news. If you search for the Women's Day lecture in at that place, and I mean United States of American Embassy, you will say it. That he's been molested over 30 times.
Wow.
And she has not been able to get justice for it. And that is why she formed an NGO to try and say that any case reported to her, she will try to get justice for them. And you see a lot of NGO now are the one fighting to get justice for those that have been molested or harassed. And another case was also discussed that day. A particular student said in his own secondary school, a student was gang raped by a set of boys. And she reported. Instead of investigating the case, the lady was was suspended from the school. And she missed out addressing the exam and all the stuff. And when she come back after the suspension, this set of boys again gang raped her again. They will do it over and over again because justice has not been done on what they've done, the first offense they committed. And it's not that the culprits are not known. Even if you think they are still is an allegation, but investigate instead of punishing the girl child that reported by suspension. That is rubbing salt upon injury for such a victimized fellow. So I think a lot of cases that I've heard about, I've not seen a lot of them actually getting justice for what they have done. There's an accident one also in Osun State where one Afa called himself Afa to a youth, a teenager of 16 years, and said, okay, you can come to my Arabic school to come and study and all this stuff, but eventually forced this lady to travel with him from Osun State to Abeokuta, Ogun State, and then rent a room apartment for himself and the girl, and a room apartment for the other boys that follow them. This lady is the only lady that followed them, and the lady alleged that this man actually raped her. This case, I think, is still under, and I think it is in full. There's full investigation on this case. Yes, and the family has said the man has asked for the hand of the lady in marriage, and have said no. She's still so young for you, and you are so elderly, and despite that, he find a way around it to bring the girl closer. Although always giving her money and all this stuff, the girl also confessed to that. That is where ladies should be very careful.
Yes.
When somebody is making advances to you, you're not yielding to that, and they start giving you money, then they'll draw you closer, and then you become a victim one day. And these harassers usually are those that are supposed to protect you, better in the family. You see uncles harassing the nieces in the family. You see a lot of family members that are supposed to protect them are the one harassing them. And most of the time, they are not able to even speak out because nobody will believe the story that, oh, how can you say Uncle something is doing this to you? But I think part of what we should do again is to ensure that we have sex education.
Yes.
In the family and also at school. In China, they do. In Malaysia, they do that. Sex education is very important. All of them, boys and girls. If somebody touch you, this place and this place is the meaning. You try this how to react to that. Ask questions or scream out so that people will know that somebody is doing something to you. So there's need for more of sex education, reorientation in our society, that people will get to know how it happens and how you can prevent yourself from such.
By sex for grade. This is the latest one now.
Yeah, the sex for grade is two ways.
Yes.
Sometimes from lecturer asking the student for sex so that there will be upgrade in the result. Maybe the student has failed. You see that of Lasso that occurred last year, and the professor also have been sacked by now. They're supposed to announce his professorship just 2 days to when that occurrence happened. One NGO actually assisted the student. The student said, this man has asked me for sex and money, and has been repeatedly asking me for such. And our further course, now he's asking for the same thing again. And they have to, okay, you need help? The NGO now gave the lady a camera, glasses, to put on. And also, that's how he was nabbed. And he was suspended and again sacked because they find out that he's been doing that to a lot of girls, a lot of female students, and getting away with it. So when you talk about sex for grade, sometimes it is from the lecturer to the student, making advances that if you agree for me to have sex with you, then you have A grade or you have a B grade. Or I can change your grade from D to F. From F to A or from D to B or something like that. And sometimes it also happens from student to lecturer. So it is both ways. Sometimes some of the female students who think they are weak in their educational pursuits, we want a good grade, change from D to B or to A, and then they try to seduce the lecturer. So it is both ways, and I think what we need mostly is reorientation for right from the family basis.
Now, in your opinion, what do you think the federal government needs to do, both the federal government and the university authority, to stop sexual harassment in order for it not to move on?
Okay, federal government has a lot to do. I've mentioned some of what they have to do in terms of welfare package that will translate into parents and children, and the children having a good life, not poor quality of life, And the university has a lot to do also. And then on the part of the government, they need to ensure that the bill that has been passed is actually implemented in most of the states of Nigeria. And then the university needs to have a policy on sexual harassment. Each university needs to have a policy on sexual harassment, and a matter of reporting to, just student affairs should not occur. When you have gender internalization and diversity office, this can assist most of the university to lessen the burden of the student affairs. Student affairs are a lot, honey. Let this be a special case that we need to focus on under that unit. And under that unit, there should be some people that can handle cases like that, from criminology and security study department or from or those who have this forensic background in forensic evidence. In Malaysia, you can't go, most of the time, you don't go away with raping. If you rape in Malaysia, if it's 10 years, they would nab that person because they have this e-system, which actually has a database of everyone in the society, in the country. So if also we can also go with our government, let all of us have good identity. They are doing well with the national identity card, but it's not the world is not enough. Everybody in the society need to be identified as a citizen or as a non-citizen of Nigeria. And every database should be linked together such that if you need forensic evidence, using DNA tests, using any part of anybody's, if it's just a scratch like this, they use it to detect who raped a victim, So the government to do a lot. It's a lot of tax to actually have an e-government. It is a lot, but until we get there.
Okay. Now, on a lighter note, how do you cope being a mother, a wife, and the big portfolio at hand? How do you manage? Because so many women will tell you, I cannot do it. I'm married. Like now we have an example here. So how did you do it?
Thank you so much. What I always tell people is that first and foremost, the family first. Family first. And so when you are going through the child rearing and bearing, I always encourage young ladies, young women, young mothers to try and face raising their children first. Okay. When you have your kids to the level that they can take care of themselves a little bit, then you can venture into the society and help the society. But help your family first. Before I go into full-time employment, I think my kid, the youngest of them was 7 or 8. Okay. And that means at least you are not just a baby. Because what we give to them at the 0 age to age 5 is very, very important. The mother is the first school of a child. To be able to do that, you are helping the society, but helping yourself first.
Yes.
Then after that, when they are grown up, they can take care of themselves a little bit. We don't have to rush a child of 2 years to nursery school. For what? And that is where the problem is starting. Nursery school for 2 years, and then within the next 3 years, the poor girl or the poor child is already belabored with a lot of things. Yeah. They need to again look at our curriculum in Nigeria for the nursery and for the primary schools. Look at what is happening in Finland. Look at what is happening in Malaysia. Some other advanced countries where students only spend like 3-4 hours, depending on their ages, at school. And there's morning and evening section. I went through a morning section. I went through an evening section when I was in primary school. If we have that, it will actually, reduce the burden on mothers who want to work and also produce. But if we are producing, I always say, produce, rear, let them get to a stage, then you can go into the society to help. Because we need to be there also, society as women, as career women, to ensure that we project the image of women, and also to ensure that we, because women are the best leader in the world.
Yeah.
Always the best leader. So combining the two, sometimes you have to sacrifice one thing at the early stage, and in the advanced stage of your life, you cannot go into full-time career, and then you'll be dedicated because you have the support of the family as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Lastly, what's your advice to ladies, women who have been sexually harassed, and also to those who have not been sexually harassed in order to prevent such from occurring?
I did a research in 2016. The topic is on women and job satisfaction. The Women Speaks. Part of the question we asked in that when we conducted the research was that, have you ever been sexually harassed in your place of work? And we find out that most of the respondents said yes, they've been sexually harassed in their place of work. And that shows that most are just keeping quiet. So what my advice is that people should not keep quiet when you are harassed. Speak out, talk to somebody, your parents, your friend, talk to somebody who you think you can confide in. And if you say the way the person is trying to water it down or trying to say, or laugh it over, yes, then talk to another person.
Okay.
If women don't keep quiet about harassment, I know If the institution where such happens are actually not actually burying it down, burying the case, this thing will be reduced in our society. And those who have been harassed, I would say that keeping quiet to yourself can give you mental and psychological problems.
Yes.
So speak out, let people help you. There are NGOs there that can actually, you can as well talk to if you think your institution is not listening to you. Because this is what is happening now. That is what led to that of LASU and that of Unilag. You see, outsiders are the one coming to say, you are doing this is wrong here. I want you to know it is wrong, And those who have not been molested or harassed, I want to say people should also try and watch your steps, try and watch your back when you are, anywhere you are. There are a lot of strategies you have to learn about how to even enter your car, how to enter your house. A lot of time when you are alone as a woman, because you don't know who is watching. I mean, you are a prey sometimes in a society like this, where there is no serious punishment for those who are sexually harassing women.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you very much, Ma. And we've heard it all. At any stage you find yourself, if you're being sexually harassed, speak out in order to seek for help. I'm Zuwaira Hamza. Bye for now.